everyone, it's Dr. Cinema. Sorry for the bed hair. Kinda looks cool. And kinda fits in with the fact I'm talking about Godzilla this month. Anyway, let's talk about Godzilla. Mainly the theme and meaning behind the character itself. Now, of course, everyone generally knows the theme behind Godzilla and his creation, but I don't think it's really talked about that much, so I just want to take a couple minutes to go over it. So, in the original 1954 film, Godzilla was a creature that evolved from a prehistoric land creature over, of course, a long period of time. He was awakened due to some, I won't say hydrogen bomb testing. That's the specific bomb testing. And after being awakened, he wakes up, and of course, all the famous stuff associated with Godzilla happens in the movie until the end. Now, of course, the theme behind Godzilla is, of course, nuclear testing and the nuclear holocaust that people of Japan went through during World War II. So obviously this was a big theme and had a lot of importance to Japan and the people in it, considering their experiences. However, one thing you should probably know is that a lot of viewers of the movie actually sort of connected to Godzilla, seeing him as a Holocaust victim, or not Holocaust, but nuclear Holocaust victim, which a lot of people who viewed the movie and had experience during the nuclear bombings really connected with, and actually kind of even had some sort of sympathy for the giant lizard king, which is a very interesting fact that you should know about how Japanese people view Godzilla throughout his entire film career. And it does help explain why in some movies he takes on the role of the hero fighting against other monsters and antagonists. Now, of course, this is a pretty big contrast to nuclear-related themes in American pop culture. Now, of course, when it comes to the actual nuclear bombs, things in the real world, the American people, generally speaking, don't really want to actually use them because of what it will mean in retaliation against us, and also just that it's very destructive and they don't really want to cause that much destruction to a bunch of people because they rarely see any occasion where that could be justified. Of course, there are varying reasons why people don't want to use nuclear bombs and why people do, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, in terms of actually in American pop culture, the medium that deals the most with nuclear-related situations on a constant basis are comic books, superhero comic books, with many characters actually getting their powers from being exposed to either a nuclear test facility, nuclear waste, anything that has to do with the making of a nuclear bomb. Now, of course, there are some supervillains whose powers are nuclear-based, but the ones that survive the longest and are more talked about are the heroes with nuclear-based abilities, which is obviously a pretty big contrast seeing how Americans, through their pop culture, view nuclear bombs and nuclear testing and how Japan views it. But I think it's important to note that a lot of Japanese people actually do emotionally connect with Godzilla, at least back when he was initially debuted in their culture, because of his representation and how they viewed him as another victim of nuclear bombing and nuclear holocaust in their country. Which I think is really something that you should keep in mind because it makes the franchise and the character itself a little more interesting and something that should be talked a little bit more because I just think it's a fascinating concept and a fascinating idea that is associated with one of the most famous characters of any country's pop culture. So that's how I want to start off Godzilla Month. and we'll actually talk a little bit more about the different eras of Godzilla films in the next video. But until then, I'm Dr. Cinema. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and see you next time in Godzilla Month.